Marcus Smart. So if you look at these in the totality of the next 5 years, because each of these players are under contract for another season, Marcus Smart comes out to like 5 years and 91, 92 million. And now Terry Rozier comes out to 5 years, 115-ish million. It's a little bit less than that. That is sort of wild to think about. And so with the Rozier extension, I think people had sticker shock when they looked at it. Dan Devine wrote a great piece at The Ringer where he pointed out that it's really barely even a top 20 deal among guards right now. I don't think most people view Terry Rozier as a top 20 guard, so I think it's fine to have that initial sticker shock. For the Hornets specifically, there are two things I'm looking at. Is one, I need to see the full details of this deal, because this year specifically, the guarantees, whether they're partial, whether they're team options, player options, early termination options, they've been sort of trickling out even behind the scenes later than normal. And so I'm just curious to see if there's like a partial guarantee in that final year. Is there a team option involved here or something? Because that will change the context the way we look at it. I will, though, note that I think Terry Rozier is incredibly valuable because of how plug and play he is on the offensive end. He does have some off the dribble juice that fell off over the course of last year as he went forward, but there was a time where he was knocking down a huge portion of his pull-up jumpers. But I think it's more important that this is someone who, on incredibly high volume, knocked down 43.3% of his catch-and-shoot triples last year. When you're playing beside LaMelo Ball, when you're playing beside Gordon Hayward, you want someone like that. He's going to compete on defense too. I don't think he's a great defender, but he's going to go up against, he'll defend up to the 2, even though I think he's 6'1". So there's value in that. And again, you might get a little bit more off the dribble juice from him. And the volume at which he does it at, again, is absolutely monstrous. Last season, there were only 8 other players who cleared 20 points a game while shooting as well on 2s, 51.2%, and 3s, 38.9%, as Terry Rozier. Those 8 players were Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry, Kyrie, Nikola Jokic, Zach LaVine, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, and Nikola Vucevic. Now, Terry Rozier is not on the same level as any of those players. He is not the same level of an off-the-bounce threat. But he still hit a higher effective field goal percentage on his pull-up jumpers than Devin Booker. I'm not making the case that Terry Rozier is a star. I'm looking at it from the Hornets' perspective of, I think they view this as a player who is useful to them. They were probably scared of what he was going to get in free agency next summer, which is kind of shaping up to be like a not too spicy summer. And I'll get to that point with the Marcus Smart deal. And so you were probably going to there was probably going to be like a 4-year, $80 million offer coming at him anyway, or something in that realm, if not greater, just based off who else projects to be available. And the other thing is, I think they're looking at this and saying, okay, because of the way he plays, this deal is never going to become impossibly difficult to move. We know there's no such thing as an immovable deal in the NBA, but this shouldn't age into a John Wall conundrum here. As Eli did point out with Terry Rozier in the chat, the value seems high because last season was his first at that efficiency. And I do agree. That was also kind of his first season in that role. They saddled him with a little bit more on-ball responsibility at times during his first year in Charlotte. And they were still trying to figure out things in their offense in the first year that Kemba Walker wasn't there. You had Devontae Graham basically as the primary ball handle for you, and he was fantastic that year, but that's different from having LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward. And I do think, to Eli's point, Rozier's value sort of dropped off after that Hayward injury, followed by the LaMelo Ball injury. He needs those primary creators around him. That's fine, though. I think this is a deal. I don't know how it's going to look from a team's perspective in years 3 and 4. I think for the next 2 or 3 years, when LaMelo was still on his rookie scale deal, when the Hornets still have that grace period of trying to figure themselves out, I think it's fine. Can you build a contender with that deal on your books, just knowing the limitations the Hornets will inherently face? I honestly don't know, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think it necessarily helps them pull off a trade. I don't think it's going to be completely immovable.